Hey, good morning and welcome back to a Lenten daily devotional through the Gospel of Mark. It's Saturday. I'm Pastor Jonathan with Robertsdale UMC. Good morning, beloved child of God. And I just have to say, man, I am loving this weather. If winter is your favorite season, I'm so sorry for your loss. But I'm enjoying the past couple days getting to wear short sleeves. This is amazing. Well, we're going to continue through Mark's Gospel, chapter 4, beginning in verse 35. And we're actually going to read into chapter 5 to verse 20 for several days. To put it elementarily, we've been seeing Jesus say stuff. Today we're going to get to see him get back to doing stuff. So we're going to see some pretty miraculous stories of Jesus. And these go back to the question we asked on the first day. So this is day 8 or 9 of this reading plan. And on the first day, one of the questions that I asked that Mark seeks to answer, in fact, he answers it in his first verse of the whole gospel, is who is this man? Who is this man, Jesus of Nazareth? And we're actually going to see that question literally come out of somebody's mouth in the stories that we read about Jesus today. So let's read Mark chapter 4, verse 35 through 5:20. Again, the reading plan that we're following each day is in the description of this video. So if you want to click on that, see where we'll be going next week. Today is Saturday, so tomorrow we'll have our worship live video, but we'll get back to the daily devotional videos on Monday through Saturday, the weeks between Ash Wednesday and Easter Sunday. Holy Saturday will be the last reading. So for today, Mark chapter 4, verse 35 through 5:20. That day, when evening came, he said to his disciples, "Let us go over to the other side." Leaving the crowd behind, they took him along just as he was in the boat. There were also other boats with him. That's significant because I think there's a video that plays in our mind and we think it's just Jesus and the disciples, but there's some other people who are about to see what he's about to do. A furious squall came up and the waves broke over the boat so that it nearly swamped the boat. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said to him, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." Then the wind died down and it was completely calm. He said to his disciples, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" They were terrified and asked each other, "Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him." They went across the lake to the region of the Gerasenes. When Jesus got out of the boat, a man with an impure spirit came from the tombs to meet him. This man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him any more, not even with a chain, for he had often been chained hand and foot, but he tore the chains apart and broke the irons on his feet. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and in the hills he would cry out and cut himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and fell on his knees in front of him. He shouted at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? In God's name, don't torture me." For Jesus had said to him, "Come out of this man, you impure spirit." Then Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" "My name is Legion," he replied, "for we are many." And he begged Jesus again and again not to send him out to the area. A large herd of pigs was feeding on the nearby hillside. The demons begged Jesus, "Send us among the pigs, allow us to go into them." He gave them permission, and the impure spirits came out and went into the pigs. The herd, about 2,000 in number, rushed down the steep bank into the lake and were drowned. Those tending the pigs ran off and reported this in the town and countryside, and the people went out to see what had happened. When they came to Jesus, they saw the man who had been possessed by the legion of demons sitting there, dressed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Those who had seen it told the people what had happened to the demon-possessed man and told about the pigs as well. Then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave their region. As Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed begged to go with him. Jesus did not let him, but said, "Go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." So the man went away and began to tell in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him, and all the people were amazed. So, remarkable stories, right? Exciting stories. Very cool. The first story, the one about Jesus calming the storm, right? We actually hear them ask, "Who is this man that even the winds and the waves obey him?" So we're seeing Jesus's power over nature. It kind of reminds me when Jesus was in the wilderness, there are two lines that are interesting, because Mark doesn't include any superfluous details in his gospel, right? He moves very quickly. He just kind of gives the facts. He doesn't elaborate nearly as much as the other gospel writers. But one thing he includes in his story of Jesus being tempted in the wilderness is that he was there with the wild beasts and the angels attended him. And there's a connection there between earth and heaven, right? Wild beasts are of the earth, angels are of heaven. And for the wild beasts to be there with Jesus, and yet for there to be no harm or no threat, Jesus is living in harmony even with the wild beasts in the way that Adam and Eve were originally meant to, but fell out of balance as a result of their rebellion against God. So all of nature fell out of balance too. And as Romans tells us, all creation groans for the coming of the Lord, because we feel that out of balance, not just in our human race, but in the entire created order. And so we see Jesus restoring that order. Nature is in disorder around them to the point of being fear-inducing and threatening, and yet Jesus has command over it. And after Jesus, listen to this, after Jesus calmed the storm of which they were afraid, they were terrified and asked each other, "Who is this man? Even the wind and waves obey him." So they're terrified at the power they see in Jesus to calm what is threatening them. Isn't that interesting? So fear and amazement are two things that we see throughout the Gospel of Mark, and they're very intentional as we see people reacting to Jesus. Then in the second story, something very similar happens. There's this man, and did you hear the strong language, the strong word? No one was strong enough to subdue him. Remember what John said, John the Baptist said in the very beginning of the Gospel about Jesus, "There's one coming who is stronger than I." And then Jesus, a few days ago, we read that he's in the house and he's teaching them, and they accuse him of being in league with the devil. And he says, how can Satan be in league against Satan? But you must first bind the strong man if you want to go into his house and plunder. And so we see that language recurring. And then again, we see someone who is filled with demons, not just one demon, but a whole legion of demons, and no one is strong enough to subdue him. And yet when Jesus shows up, he runs to Jesus and falls at his feet in submission, and Jesus casts them out. And what is the reaction when the people saw this man? Let's see, I got to go back to it. The people see him. Oh, where did it go? Okay, verse 15. Sorry about that. Verse 15. When they came to Jesus, they saw the man who had been possessed by the legion of demons sitting there, dressed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. So get this. This man who lives in tombs, wanders the hills, cannot be bound by chains because he's strong enough to break free, incredibly powerful demonic spirits, not just affecting this man, but affecting this entire village, this entire region in which he lives. All the people know about it. They've gotten used to this apparently. But when they came to Jesus, they see the man who had been possessed by the legion of demons sitting there, dressed and in his right mind. And what's their reaction? They're afraid. They're afraid because Jesus actually showed up and made things better, but it's not what they're used to. And they can't handle what is now this completely changed reality. It doesn't fit within their framework. And so they respond in fear. And those who had seen it told the people about what had happened and told about the pigs. And then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave their region. I just find that to be profound. Because when Jesus comes and he exercises control over the natural realm, control over the supernatural realm, you would think, of course, our response would always be to welcome that change, to welcome that power, to welcome that presence of peace and restoration that Jesus brings. But not so. There's something in our nature that even when it shows up for our good, if the kingdom of God doesn't show up in the way we expect, or if it changes things that we've at least gotten familiar with. It kind of reminds me in the Gospel of John. I know I'm getting outside Mark now, but when the man is by the pool and he's been there for 38 years and Jesus confronts him and says, "Do you want to be well?" And I can kind of read into that question. It's like, even though I say every day I want to be healed, this has been my reality for 38 years, and I don't know what I would do if I was healed. I don't know what I would do with that. Of course, that sounds great, but this is the way of life I'm used to. And to change that all of a sudden makes me fearful. So I don't know how that might impact you today. I don't know how that might inspire or challenge you today, but we continue to see the power of Jesus, the Son of God, being manifest, not only ruling over earth, but also having power from heaven to rule over the supernatural. So I pray that his power would be manifest in your life today, and you would pray about the places maybe that you're even fearful to see Jesus bring change, because even if it's good change, it's change. It threatens the familiar. It threatens what we're used to. Would you have the courage to let him today? Would you maybe let him help you identify an area that you would invite him into and have faith over fear? God bless you today. We'll see you tomorrow for Worship Live. This is Pastor Jonathan wishing you grace and peace.